Hi everybody, happy Wednesday to you. Today I'm going to show you how to turn a block of wood into a nice, beautiful bowl. I'd like to thank Rich McNatt. Rich sent me a video on bowl turning and it really helped a lot, and I appreciate that, Rich. If you haven't checked out his channel or know about him, I'll leave the links down below, but he's fairly new to YouTube, but woodworking skills, phenomenal. He has some beautiful artwork that he does with wood turning, with wood burning. He's even getting into a little bit of scroll sawing. So if you would check his channel out, I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate it. Give him a like, subscribe, and we're going to turn a bowl today. So let's get started. I'm using a piece of maple and I wanted to get the circular shape on it before I put it on the lathe. So I just drew the circle out and then took it over to the bandsaw and roughed it out with the bandsaw. I know this isn't the right size blade for what I'm doing, but I didn't want to take the bandsaw apart to put a new blade in, so I just used what was on it. And it worked fine. Just had to resaw a couple places, but it made it a lot easier whenever I went to mount it to the face plate for the lathe. That way when I turn the lathe on, it's not going to be as jumpy if it wasn't round. If it was square, it would be uneven and it would move around a lot. The first thing I wanted to do was clean up the outside edges with the rougher. The rougher is good for cleaning up the outside edges, cutting your tenons, and smoothing out the last final cut to reduce any kind of sanding that you may have. Now, cutting the tenons were just so much easier because they plunge straight in. It has a nice flow to it. And then I used a detailer to shape the tenon to be able to fit my chuck, which is a dovetail chuck. So that was a real easy angle cut that I was able to do on that. And then I took and put the center of the roughing tool and made sure that it was squared up and flat, so whenever it turns to go into the chuck, that it would be flat up against and be level. Once I had it turned around in the chuck, I tried to drill a hole with a Forster bit. The bits were dull, so I just used your standard bit and drilled in as far as I wanted the bottom of the bowl to be. And then really with the rougher, it was amazing of how it cut so evenly whenever you went to go back and forth and hog out the inside of the bowl. You just took the corner and where you drilled in and just moved from side to side with even flows, and it just done a beautiful job hogging out the inside of the bowl. I then used the finisher on the inside of the bowl and then went back with the rougher on the outside of the bowl. If you didn't notice, being my first bowl, I really didn't shape the bowl simply because I was so excited of how well the tenon cut. I went ahead and flipped it to put it in the chuck. So I'm making a little bit of shape on the outside of the bowl, used a detailer to put a little rim around the top of the bowl, and then use the detailer as well for the bottom of the bowl to give it a little stand to sit on. And I sanded off basically where the insert of the chuck was to make it level with the table. Obviously sanding, not as much with the tools that we use, so the sanding wasn't that bad. And I went up to 600 and got me a nice little finish on it, and it really turned out nice. I really feel like for my first bowl I was very pleased and real comfortable using the tools. I think a lot more comfortable than I would have been using the regular high-speed steel tool, simply because I was still learning the angles that they need to be to cut.
So there's two really big things that stood out in my mind whenever I was using the Easy Wood tools. Number one, I think they cut a whole lot smoother than the traditional high-speed steel tools. It's just a smoother cut, it plunges better, you got better control. The other thing I saw also is these tools here, when I first got them, they were sharp. Now they're not. I don't have something to turn or grinder to sharpen them up with. It's easily done and you could easily spend time sharpening those tools. But I don't have the access to do that. So really, if I didn't have the Easy Wood tools, I wouldn't be turning because I've got dull tools. So I'm going to get those sharpened because I think I still use those, but I think I'll primarily turn to my Easy Wood tools simply because of the cut and because they're sharp. They stay sharp and they're easy to change whenever they get dull. So not want to do a review, just to show you what I think about the tool and just let you know Easy Wood Tools got a great product. So appreciate you watching. Always remember, be kind to one another.